Before we dive into today's episode, I have something truly special to share. Next September, I'll be leading an intimate women's retreat through the south of France and northern Italy, and you're invited. Picture this: mornings exploring the colorful markets of the French Riviera, afternoons sipping wine, and a hotel view with golden Mediterranean sunsets. Whether you love photography, food, or just want to reconnect with your playful creative self, this trip is designed for you. Spots are limited, so if all this sounds like your kind of adventure, please visit tourwithabsolutely.com and look for the tour France and Italy with Crystal. You can also send me a message or check out the show notes. Hey guys, my name's Crystal Kenny, and I'm in love with creating. All things artistic and imagination involved. I'm an American girl who chased her creative dreams all the way to Paris, France, making a living using photography. This podcast takes you inside the stories of all the artsy folks I've met along the way and gives you that extra push to discover your creative gifts. The desire to create is deeply inside each and every one of us, and I give you the tools and inspiration to find a new way of living a more creative life. This is La Vie Creative, the podcast. Claudine Hemingway is a descendant of famed writer Ernest Hemingway. We bumped into each other at a party and decided to team up and dive deep into French history, but with a twist, by bringing a spotlight to those lesser-known creatives in France. This is History with a Hemingway. So we are back with Paris History, Avec Hemingway, back with Claudine Hemingway. It's so nice to have you back, Claudine. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
And today we are talking about Berthe Morisot, and I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. I keep thinking of Bert and Ernie, but I'm definitely not saying that right. Berthe Morisot. And she was a painter and once again, way ahead of her time and actually respected by many. And I think what I find most fascinating about her, she was married to Manet's brother, was what I read.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Claudine will tell us everything about that. So let's jump into today's famous French woman.
Yeah, Berthe Morisot. She is definitely one of my favorites. And I think I discovered her because of Manet, because I became infatuated with everything Manet did. That's how I first saw her, the image of her, because he painted her. But she was definitely a painter in her own right. One of the leading painters, actually, of the Impressionist period. Berthe Morisot was born in January 1841 in Bourges, France, which was in the central part of France. And she was born there to a rather bourgeois family. Her father, Edmé, was a prefect for the region, but he had also attended the École des Beaux-Arts in Paris. And her mother was the grandniece of Jean Honoré Fragonard, who was like the biggest painter of the Rococo period.
Oh, wow. So she had it in her family.
So she had a little bit of the art in her blood. So in 1852, when she was 11 years old, the family moved to Paris. And when they moved to Paris, her older sister, Edma, and Berthe decided to start. Her parents got them into art lessons. So they started taking lessons from Joseph Gouchard, and they would take the lessons with him. And then he finally started taking them to the Louvre as a copyist, which was a big thing that you could do back then. You could still do it today. But when the Louvre first started, that's where it basically was. It was on the calendar where it was a 10-day-a-week calendar. And 7 days of the week, the Louvre was open, but only 4 of those days were only open to copyists. So, and that was in, the mid 18th or end of the 18th century. So you could go in there and they could literally take the paintings off the wall and sit them there, and then
you could touch them.
You could touch them.
That's so cool.
And, basically go in there and copy them. Today, you could still do that. There's a bunch of different rules. It can't be the same size. It has to be smaller. It has to be stamped on the back by the Louvre. You can't copy the signature. So you can't go in there, here's Leonardo da Vinci and copy his signature. But you can still do it. So, but at the time, it was something that, Manet did it. A lot of Manet's famous paintings are Déjeuner sur l'herbe, Olympia. They're all based on things that he copied in the Louvre that he got for inspiration.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
So it was just recycled work.
Yeah, it's really cool. And it's so cool today when you walk through and you just see somebody, you know, in a room with an easel painting. And I just love to stand back and kind of like look at their version compared to the version on the wall. And it's really, really cool. But there's like a huge, long, like multi-year waiting list to do it now. But back then you could just, you know, go in any time and just do it. So they would go in there. They had to always have a chaperone. So Boucher was always with them. And so the two sisters would go in there and copy paintings. In that next summer, that their family got a beach house. And while they were there, Jean-Baptiste Corot, who was a big famous painter, came out there and would spend his time with them, teaching them how to paint outdoors and paint landscapes. And this was, you know, these girls were young. You know, they were in their, you know, in their teens, early 20s at this point.
It's surprising her parents were letting her do all this stuff because women were not supposed to be doing this stuff.
Yeah, I think probably because they had like a basis in art. You know, the parents did, that they probably were okay with it. At one point, Manet had actually said to her parents, like, they're very good. And they're like, oh, okay. So,
oh, good news.
Yeah. And you know, at that time, Manet was a big deal, but he's not, you know, he wasn't like he is now. You know, you just have to say Manet.
Yeah.
So they were there one day at the Louvre, and Henri Fantin Latour, who is another painter, came in there and met the girls. And so he would go in there and he would be doing the same thing. He'd be copying paintings. And he one day brings Edward Manet in there to go meet them. And Manet's instantly like completely enthralled with both of the girls. He thinks they're just wonderful. Kind of takes them under his wings. And so between the Manets and the Morisot families, they ended up having these salons that like everybody would come to, you know, Baudelaire, Tissot, like all of these like very famous people at the time, you know, different creative people would come to these salons. And so they had this opportunity. They got to meet these like really fantastic people of the day, and they were encouraging them in their art.
What like the best mentors ever. Exactly. I mean, how lucky.
I know, it's just crazy. So, but Manet was just completely like, at that time, he had been working on Olympia. He had the paintings that he had done with Victorine were done. You know, he caused quite a stir with those. And so he kind of was looking for a new inspiration and, you know, a new muse. And he thought Berthe, with her dark hair and her dark eyes, he was really infatuated with Spanish paintings. Berthe definitely had this look of a Spanish woman. And so he wanted to start painting her. So he painted her for the first time in 1868. And he painted her, there's a painting called Le Balcon, the balcony. And she's the one seated in it. The painting is in the Orsay. He had to kind of convince her to do this. Like, she kind of really wasn't too, you know, she wanted to be
excited.
She wanted to be a painter. She didn't want to be a model.
So, yeah, because being a model is like being a prostitute back then.
Exactly. So she, you know, he tried to convince her. And so he painted this painting of her. And this definitely was, you know, this painting was accepted a little bit better than his previous paintings of the ladies. So, yeah, he worked really closely with Berthe, and he basically, you know, took her on too and was teaching her how to paint. She, you know, he would use a lot of really dark colors. Like the balcon is basically like the back of the window is very, very dark. And it's just a lot of green and a little bit of pop of blue and a little white, but there's not a lot of lighter colors. And she was also, you know, would talk with Degas, and which, you know,
casual, no big deal.
Hey, there's Degas. And he, you know, was really into these lighter, softer colors and pastels. So she was starting to move towards like painting lighter colors. And Manet kind of was just like, wasn't really liking that at first, because he really liked these darker colors. So she started doing these, you know, paintings and these scenes of like meadows and, you know, a child walking through and butterflies and these very sweet, very pretty pictures. So Manet didn't like it at first, but then because of Berthe, he ended up kind of starting to do the same thing and going with the lighter colors.
So he copied her.
So they had like a really, really close friendship. There's been things written that, you know, do you think they had a relationship? Most things say that they don't think that they did. He definitely cared about her. He was actually had kind of a thing for her sister. Her sister only painted for a few years, and then she ended up getting married and kind of, when she did paint, it was kind of just, as a hobby on the side. But Edouard Manet and Berthe Morisot were very, very close, more like a mentor relationship.
Yeah. And of course, there's just probably gossip going around because there was a lot of that back then.
There was a lot of that back then. So he painted her quite a few times. He, as they go on, some of the paintings are, softer in colors. There's one of her, Le Repas, where she's like laying down on a couch. This really beautiful painting of her. My very favorite, though, is the one that he did. It's called Violets, and it's a picture of her in her black mourning attire because it was painted while she was mourning the death of her father. It's in the Orsay, and it's pretty close up profile of her. And she's holding, in which you could hardly even tell that she's holding this there's a little tiny bouquet of violets kind of at her chest level. It's just, every time I see it, it's just like the most beautiful, striking painting. And like, you could just look deep into her eyes. It's pretty fantastic. I love going to see that painting.
It's so much different seeing this stuff in person than just looking at pictures.
Oh, it's so much different, especially if it's something you've seen a bunch of times in pictures, then when you see the real thing up close, especially if you get really close to it, it's pretty, like when you can see their brush strokes and you're just like, that's Manet or that's Van Gogh's brush strokes. It's like, oh my God.
Like you're connecting. They're there right then and there.
You almost feel like you almost feel it, It's pretty
like they were your mentor.
Exactly.
So fair.
Yeah. So in the summer of 1874, she was out in the country and she'd be spending the summer painting. And Eugène Manet would come out on the weekends and come out there to paint with her and then the family. And she ended up starting to, date him, court him, I guess you'd call it back then. And then by the end of the year, they got married.
Oh, wow. That was fast.
Yeah. So they worked quickly. He was Edouard Manet's brother. So, now she's part of the family. She's right in the family.
So she basically married into the Manets. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. So that same year, it was also during this few years before that, it was having the time with the big salon where they would exhibit all the paintings for the year, and they were, judged and a committee would pick them. Well, that's when the Impressionists were really starting to, kind of make some waves, and they hated the Impressionist paintings. And so they were rejecting them all the time. Manet had many of his paintings rejected. The group of the Impressionists got together, and so they created their very own exhibition in 1874. And they did it at Nadar, who was a famous photographer, one of the first big photographers in Paris, had a studio on Rue des Capucines. And it's still there today. You can still walk by and you can still go look up from the street and see it. But they were able to hold their first exhibition there. And so this was 1874. And so for a month in the spring, from April 15th to May 15th, they had this exhibition. And so there's 29 artists that took part in it. And Berthe was the only woman.
Yeah, and she was only 23 years old, too. Yeah. She was like a baby.
Yeah.
And wasn't she like the first woman to be on display at something like that?
She was at the salon earlier. She had been accepted at the salon for some, a landscape type of painting.
Yeah.
But when she went to this one, and then there were some of them, like Manet didn't want anything to do with this. Manet never wanted to be any part of being labeled as an impressionist. So he didn't want to be a part of this exhibition. There was other artists that were warning her, like, you need to be careful. You shouldn't be doing this, especially as a woman. And she was just like, nope, I'm going to do it anyway.
I love that.
Yeah. So she had 14 oil paintings, 3 pastels, and 3 watercolors that she exhibited at this event.
Did they sell anything? Were they made for selling, or was it just to look at?
They were exhibitions. And then after that, they had a auction. So she took 12 of her paintings and it was at this auction at the auction house in Paris. It's still there today, which is so amazing to go see an auction. Anybody could go do it. It's really fun.
Oh, cool.
But she went there and it caused quite the scandal. Because, it's like, okay, well, now here she is out in the open public, and they're auctioning off these paintings. And it became like she was labeled, they were calling her a prostitute. They were saying these terrible things about her. And then the artist Pissarro, another just that guy, Pissarro.
Pissarro. Yeah, that guy. Who the heck is that?
He got really mad and actually punched somebody that was calling her names.
What?
Yeah. So apparently he got a little.
Say she had some groupies.
She had some groupies, but quite the names that they were her groupies were pretty big. But she ended up becoming like a leader of one of the leaders of the Impressionist movement.
Which is really cool because, first off, she was a woman. She was also so young. She was with all these like older men. And also nobody wanted to be labeled an impressionist. It was like a bad thing. And she was like all about joining the movement.
Yeah, I mean, and a couple years later, Mary Cassatt, who was an American that came to Paris, she was a big Impressionist. I mean, those are really kind of the two women of the Impressionist period that people really know. But, it was so way ahead of the time what she was doing, and how, being able to exhibit and be there. I mean, they couldn't even go into the Louvre by themselves. As a woman, they couldn't be in there unchaperoned. And he was just like, yep, well, here, I'm going to do all these paintings and they're going to auction them off.
Do you think that because her family was so rich, it gave her more space to like do what she wanted? Because money was never going to be an issue for her.
Oh, for sure. I mean, and then when she married Eugene, I mean, that definitely basically was like, okay, now she doesn't really ever have to worry about it.
Yeah, like social class ways. Like, because when we talked about Suzanne Verdon, like she was poor and like looking up to women like that were able to just go and do it because they had money.
Yeah, for sure. So it's kind of sad. But yeah, I mean, she was given a lot of advantages, but she definitely with her talent forged her own road in through there and became, she's a very recognizable name now.
And her paintings are beautiful.
So beautiful. So
she uses like those quick, long brush strokes and the color, and it's just very feminine. And she was mostly painting everyday life of a woman, wasn't she?
Yeah. She would definitely she wanted to kind of capture the working woman. So she had a lot of paintings of the nursemaid, a cook, and, basically because she thought of herself as a working woman, she was painting all the time. I mean, she didn't have, a 9-to-5 office job, but she still, this was still work.
This was her job. She took it seriously.
Yeah. So in 1878, she and Eugene had a daughter. This is the only child they had, and her name was Julie. She, so then now she was a subject of, Eugene actually would paint some stuff too. He definitely wasn't his brother, but he definitely has some paintings that he painted, and definitely has paintings of Julie that he did too. But she did quite a few paintings of Julie. I mean, that she kind of became her full subject matter as she was growing up, and and also the people that surrounded her. So a couple years in 1892, Eugene died, pulmonary syphilis. The Manet family, the Manet men.
Yeah, that curse, prostitution.
Yeah, it's definitely. It's funny. Like anytime I'm doing research and it's you're looking at the 18th century, it's everybody's dying of tuberculosis. Yeah. And then you look at this period of time, everybody dies of syphilis.
So how did she not get it?
Well, she did.
Oh.
Well, it just depends. When we get to her death, we'll have that. But so when he died, the French symbolist poet Stéphane Mallarmé ended up kind of becoming her tutor and took over, helping raise Julie and helping, helping her. She also had this whole collection of what you would call her uncles that are Renoir, Monet. At this point, all of these huge artists of the time are basically Julie's quote unquote uncles.
I would love to have them as my uncles.
I know, like stepping in to be there for him. She got really sick in 1895. And so as Berthe was taking care of her, she had pneumonia. Berthe got really sick as well, and she died. So some people say she died of the flu. Some people say she had pneumonia, but it's kind of also most likely that she had this, she also had syphilis.
Yeah, because everybody was dying from syphilis, and it was her husband. So of course she must have contracted it. That's
what I think. It's probably more widely that a bigger reason that she died was syphilis. I'm sure pneumonia and those things did not help, but I think she had the same thing.
What happened to her daughter?
Her daughter actually lived to be older, and all of these people, all these men stepped in to take care of her. When Berthe died, her death certificate said that she was without profession, which I think is so heartbreaking because she still, even with everything, she wasn't even looked upon as an actual artist.
Yeah, I mean, that was so normal for the times, even though she worked her butt off at painting.
Yeah, completely. So she's buried at the Passé Cemetery, which is just right by the Trocadero. In the Manet, there's one tomb and it has a bust of Edouard Manet on the top, and they're all buried there. Eugene, Berthe, all of them are.
No, I'm there every day at Trocadero. I need to
Yeah,
take my
you
clients
got
over
to
there
go
and
in
go
there.
visit.
I could walk you through, tell you how to
I've
get
never been to that one. I always look at it because I know that big wall, and it's just
Yeah.
over the wall. But I didn't know anybody famous was
Oh
there.
yeah, there's quite a few people in there. I mean, I love the French cemeteries just in general because they're kind of like outdoor museums.
Museums. Yeah,
Yeah.
Père Lachaise is just
Oh, I
beautiful. I
love
tell
it.
everybody to go there, not like I'm some like death worshiper,
Yeah.
but I'm like,
Well, no,
it's
I think
so
it's different.
pretty.
Yeah, it's just that it's so much in there. But I had to go there to find Manet when I went to Passy. And so a year after she died, they wanted to put together an exhibition. So the Durand Ruel Gallery, with the help of Degas and Julie, put together this huge retrospective of her mother. So it
Oh,
had
wow.
over 40 different paintings of hers that was on display a year after she died.
So they didn't burn her paintings like
No, no,
Zelda's.
she luckily did not have to have, she did not have her paintings. But, I mean, you have Renoir, Monet, Degas, Mallarmé, Caillebotte, all of these men, all of these huge painters at the time basically stepped up and helped raise Julie.
They must have really loved her to take care of her daughter like that, That's wild. Because these were like men that were drinking and partying and had their muses, and then they took care of this little girl.
Yeah. So Julie started a diary when she was 10 years old, and it was later published, and you could get it. You could find it on Amazon now. It's pretty interesting. I mean, it's written as a diary, and sometimes it's kind of, like, oh, it's not really a free flowing, story because it's a diary, but it is pretty interesting. She'll just be like, she'll just say, oh, Uncle Claude came by, and blah, blah, blah. It's just like, oh my God.
What's it called? That's really cool.
It's just, if you look up Julie Manet diary, you could find it.
Very cool. I'm interested to read that. Good old Uncle Claude stopping by.
I know. But she lived to be older too. She kind of, she was really watched over by everybody in his family, but she really took it upon herself, try to keep the legacy of her mom. And the paintings, she had a lot of the paintings that she had was given to Degas and Renoir and Monet. And those three men also really worked to champion the paintings of Berthe and make sure that they were seen and people know about them. Monet had quite a few of them in his own private collection. And a lot of those paintings you could find today at the Musée Marmottan Monet. That's out in the 16th, which is a fantastic museum to go see. That's where it has Monet's Impressionist Sunrise painting, which basically named the entire movement.
I love that museum. And a lot of people don't go there. They don't know about it.
No, and it's not, I mean, it's, you could take the metro there, and I think it's probably, I don't know, maybe a 10-minute walk from there, but you go through this beautiful park. You could see the statue of Jean de La Fontaine. It's really, I mean, it's a really amazing museum. It's not usually very busy, and it's held, you go through and it's kind of like a house. And so you go through and there's quite a few of the Berthe Morisot, and you could see the paintings that Manet also did of her that are there on display as well. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, definitely go out there. And it's not, if you go visit the Eiffel Tower, you can walk there in like 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah,
15 minutes. Not far at all. It's just people don't trek over to there. They just don't know about it.
No, just don't do what I did and think, oh, it's not that far from the Fondation Louis Vuitton, and walk through the.
Oh, that's super far.
Because that was actually a pretty far walk.
Yeah, because the Foundation Louis Vuitton is like in the woods, like in the middle of nothing.
Yeah, and I mean, it was daylight when I did it, but then everybody was like, you walk through and it was like, don't walk through the Bois de Boulogne at night. I was like, oh no.
Yeah, it's a different scenery at night, guys.
Yeah, but it was quite this trek to get from one to the other.
You were a brave woman walking through those woods alone at night.
I walked on like the path in the road. I didn't go through the woods or anything. Like I don't even do that now. There was a sighting of a cougar the other day near
really?
where I lived, and so that basically kept me from going anywhere near that park for probably a year.
Well, you're right. Cougars prey on humans.
Yeah. I was like, nope, won't be walking up here anymore.
Never mind.
Yeah. But she. Berthe is like definitely one of my favorites. I mean, when you go to the Orsay and you go up to the 5th floor, when you do go to the Orsay, we might have mentioned this before, go straight upstairs to the 5th floor. Go, you could go walk right when you walk in, you could go right after you give them your ticket. You could take a left or a right and go up that way, or you go all the way towards the end and then take the escalators all the way up. Go straight there when you get there, because a lot of people start on the bottom floor and work their way up. But the Impressionist gallery, that's where they'll have, all of the amazing, déjeuner sur l'herbe, everything's up there. But then you go, one room has a ton of her paintings, and they're just, the little girl with a butterfly catcher in this, in a sea of poppies, and a bunch of other, like, the most beautiful, serene looking paintings you will ever see.
Yeah, that's my favorite part of the Orsay. And once again, a lot of people miss it. I know when I first went to the museum, I didn't know that existed, because you have to walk through the restaurant and you're like, oh, I don't want to go to the restaurant. And you might just turn around, but keep walking through, and you get those big clock faces too. And those are the best paintings up there. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. As a member, I always push people, if you're going to go to Paris more than once a year, or even when you're there, if you're going to go to the Orsay at least twice, you could become a member. It costs basically 2.5 visits, pays for a yearly membership. But the best thing about the yearly membership is you get to go in a half an hour before it opens to the general public.
Oh, that's a great thing to know, because the Orsay and the Louvre always have lines.
Yeah, it always has a line. So every time there's times when I will go in there and I get there before 9, because that's when they let us in at 9. If you get there a few minutes after 9, you have to wait till 9:30. But I have literally been upstairs in the Impressionist Gallery by myself for probably an hour and a half.
That's so cool. I mean, that never happens.
No, and it's like when you could be in there by yourself and just really, without the distraction of people talking and cameras clicking and things. It's a whole nother thing, but it's pretty great. And so, yeah, you could just go in and you have 30 minutes. And, but it takes a while for everybody to get upstairs. So you end up having some more time. And so I'll usually be like, okay, today I'm going to go, and I'm going to go to all the Van Gogh. And then it could be 10 a.m. and I'm already out the door onto my next place. Cause it's like, that's when people start coming. I'm like, okay, well, I'll come back, Thursday morning at 9 and be in here for 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's so nice to have that alone time, for sure. In any museum, it just makes all the difference.
It does. But it's like a 30 minutes alone in there. It's just, I think now the security people all know me.
Yeah, like, there's that weird lady again.
Here she is again.
Get over it, lady.
Yeah.
I always like to watch the security people. Of course, I'm really into the art, but like, as a photographer, I'm always observing people, and like, it's so funny watching them fall asleep in there.
They are really loud. So if you go in there in the morning and it's 9 o'clock and before their doors open, they are like in the corner. There's 3 or 4 of them, like chatting, cackling, like so loud. Where I'm like, geez, you guys are louder than the people.
Yeah, you're worse than the tourists. Be professionals.
Yeah, and then it's like, and then I've had them like, somebody will see, because I'm in there always with my notebook and I'm taking notes and I'm taking pictures of a million pictures. Sometimes close up of a signature and close up of this, and I've had them actually I've had many security people come up to me and be like, oh, they'll tell me something, or did you want to do this? Or, like, we've been watching you, you really are taking your time, and we don't see people do that.
Oh, so they appreciate you for appreciating the art.
Yeah, so it's kind of nice. But one time they were like, do you want us to take a selfie? And I'm like, no, I'm okay.
I don't need a photo with it.
I'm like, no, I don't need a picture of me with a painting. I'm good, thanks.
Oh, that's so cute. You're making friends with the security.
Yes.
You can get us in there late at night, after hours. I've shot a few events in there, and it's really wild, because they turn it into like this big gala, and it's at night, and it's only 100 people who are there for the gala. And like you said, it's just amazing. There's nobody.
Can't wait for them to reopen soon.
Yes, exactly. Well, thank you so much, Claudine. I really enjoyed this new creative lady we learned about today, and I'm very much looking forward to next week.
Yeah, and I'll put lots of the paintings. I'll put a bunch of the pictures on. Just check on my website, ClaudineHemingway.com, and under the podcast, I will do show notes with lots of the paintings on it too.
Perfect. So check out ClaudineHemingway.com so you can see all of that and more. Until next week.
A bientôt.
A bientôt.
Thank you for listening to Paris History Avec Hemingway. If you want to find out some more, you could always find me on my Instagram page, Claudine Bleu Blanc Rouge, and that's BLEU, as in the French way to spell it. And each day I post a daily history lesson about a person or a place or something in Paris, or it's lots of fun facts. And then also at ClaudineHemingway.com, where you can also sign up for my newsletter there.